the theories of cinema. The history of cinema was reread after Bazin wrote on cinema and criticism. Therefore, there was a period in history of cinema where criticism had a very strong influence on filmmakers. But today, do we have that? Do we have an intellectual approach to any of the arts today? Not only cinema for that matter, any arts today. That's a big question we are asking, and there is no answer to this. As an individual, I have no answer to this. The society changes, keeps changing. Now, what is the influence of a writing of cinema on audiences? Do they take this seriously? First of all, are they the targets of film criticism? First of all, in literature they are not. Basically, the reviews that come in newspapers, even literary reviews that come in newspapers, is targeted to a different audience than literary criticism, which is targeted to academicians and students of literature. Therefore, what is the influence of writing on cinema on the audiences? Again, there is no answer to this. We have to find out answers to this. This is cinema is a very young medium, therefore it takes time to get into that. But these are the questions we need to ask in the context of India, where cinema is not part of a greater intellectual culture. A couple of anecdotes also I can give you. One of the times I was sharing a platform with a very senior aesthetician and scholar on literature and other arts. And when I talked about cinema, and he came on the stage and said, you don't need to do anything new for cinema. We already have all the tools to understand this. He gave the example of Rasa Siddhanta, the Rasa theory. He said that explains, because cinema is basically on the side of the audience, not on the filmmaker. Therefore, there's no aesthetic questions I would not like to raise on this. Now, today in cinema in India is basically addressing a large audience. That's where we have to talk about, and our Rasa Siddhanta explains this. The emotions we get from cinema. Cinema is a very strong emotional medium in this country. Therefore, he said the theories we already have will already explain. Therefore, no new criticism is required. There no idiom of film criticism is required in this country. In another forum, another intellectual pointed out that we have this Anandavardhana's Dhwani Siddhanta, that is a tonal quality. That is good enough to explain cinema. Why do you need another idiom to do this? I spoke to them and asked them certain questions which said, okay, fine, these are about impact, but what about the aesthetics as construction of cinema? Should film criticism address these issues also, along with the impact of cinema on the audiences? These are the questions we need to raise in India very effectively now. We are not asking this question seriously. Cinema is still for us like an extension. Since this has happened essentially because we still look cinema as an extension of other existing visual arts always. If you look at any history of any regional Indian cinema, we know that theatre has a very strong influence on that. Why do we use music and dance in our cinema? We have a very traditional influence of, we have a long history of dance and music and other fine arts. It comes into cinema. Therefore, cinema is still an extension of things we already have. Even though technology is an additional aspect of cinema, the fact that cinema is seen as an extension of theatre, as an extension of our literary tradition, as an extension of music and art tradition, we have a problem of understanding this new medium with a new language of criticism. We are looking at these aspects in India today. We are trying to look at, some of us are trying to look at what are the ways of bringing it. Therefore, we are looking at, as Mr. Ramachandran pointed out, getting into universities, talking to youngsters, look at cinema in a different perspective. Find your own language to respond to it. Your emotional response can be explained. But the aesthetics of cinema is different from aesthetics of other arts. Therefore, look at the different aesthetics of cinema that has been developed over the years across various forums around the world. And we will find a way in India also to make cinema as a part of an intellectual tradition, to part of a criticism. There is a long history of critical appreciation of arts in India. Put cinema also as one of the components of this long history of critical appreciation of the arts in India. And I think that's where this forum also is trying to take it forward. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Vijayashankar. Apart from a critic, he is a programmer. He is a director of the Bangalore International Film Festival. Next, I call Miss Meenakshi Shedde. She is our critic, Fiprosky member, and she is a long programmer for Berlinale, Berlin Film Festival. I now invite Miss Meenakshi Shedde to speak.
Are you guys okay if I sit? There are many aspects that one can talk about. I think I'll a little bit focus on my experience of being a critic, because we are trying to contribute different aspects of the field of film criticism, how it impacts audiences and films. So primarily I'm a journalist and a film critic. And a long time back, I won the National Award for Best Film Critic. And soon after that, I got invited on the Fipresci jury at the Cannes Festival, at the Berlin Festival, at the Venice Film Festival. And because I had a chance to meet the directors of these festivals as a jury member, they kept saying, we don't get really good... Sorry, can you hear me? They kept saying we don't get good films from India. We know there's good stuff. We get vast amounts of trash, but we don't have the bandwidth to go through that trash. Would you please recommend films to us? So all of my life, it's just kind of a series of happy accidents for which I'm really grateful. So they asked me to recommend films from India, and I was like, okay, I'm just some crummy journalist in Times of India, and oh my God, films that I could recommend get selected. So that's how my journey actually began, very unintentionally, but it's something I'm grateful for. And the reason I mention it now is that actually made me so aware that a review that one writes, like all of us in the papers or media, we didn't have internet in those days. So of course, our intention is to mold the audience to raise their taste in cinema and appreciate good cinema. You might not agree with the review, and that's completely, of course it should be that you have your own opinion. But I was very aware that the same review that I wrote, when I sent it internally to the festival, that actually made a chance, actually that happens to many of us who are in programming, many of us far more senior colleagues than me, that same review makes it possible for a very good film to actually get selected at an important festival, which can change that whole life of that film and maybe the career of that filmmaker, right? So it's the same review, and it goes internally, but it can have a very different impact. And for me, I've fought my whole life. I'm just trying to, again, make you aware of the impact, as Vidya Shankar sir said, of the impact of a good review. I mean, not just mine, but everyone who writes good reviews or conscientiously writes reviews. That when, a lot of us like to support independent cinema because mainstream cinema will get where it wants anyway. But when an independent film gets selected at any festival, its chances of getting released in its home country, in India, are therefore increased. Because there are lots of real beautiful jewels in Malayalam and Bengali and Tamil and Marathi and so on, which don't automatically get a good release. And films have rotted for years. Even when they've been at festivals, they don't get released. So there's no way to reach you. So the filmmaker assumes that he's useless and, he didn't make a good film, whereas that's not the case, right? So I think we are, all of us, very aware of the impact one can have, and it's really, it makes us more conscientious. So I really feel that a lot of critics, certainly including myself, a very long time back, had done this film appreciation course at the Film Institute in Pune, and it was so refreshing, and it changed my whole life. And it's something I would like to do every year as a refresher course. And I think just as you have in engineering or dentistry or engineering, people do refresher courses, and I think critics really need refresher courses. We need to know what's going on in young cinema all over the world, what the great classics are. A lot of people have just jumped into it. You're a reporter, chalo, now you also do ye bhi karo, wo bhi karo, you do, you're not required to be an expert, but or the critic is ill today, chalo, now you just do it. So there's no qualification really needed. So I think this refresher course is really important for all of us to be strong on the basics and the history of cinema and criticism, as well as what's going on, new trends and so on. But I'll just quickly round off with something that's really a kind of a pole star for me, is what the Cannes Critics Week is, right? So the Cannes Critics Week is a paddle bar section in the Cannes Festival. It's only for first and second films. It's just run by a bunch of film critics like us, right? From anywhere in the world. It's just ordinary film critics. But their insane commitment to raising the standards of cinema where it really matters, I find deeply inspiring. And actually, Premendra Mazumdar is actually the Cannes Critics correspondent in India. Please give him a big hand. I don't know how many of you know that. It's a fantastic honor and a very important role he's playing. So what these guys have done, it's a French union of film critics, okay? Like Fipresci or many other critics groups. What they've done, what we tend to do, it's a heroic achievement for us to, we are struggling with our seniors, with their experience. They've managed to install Fipresci juries at some festivals. We are struggling to make that wider. What Cannes has done, what the Critics Week, in 2021, they will be 60 years old, okay? They started off with their first edition in Cannes in 1962. And they have actually curated a whole section for themselves. They are not coming in at the tail end, which is vital, very, very vital to judge the best films. We come in at the tail end and give the prizes to not come in at the tail end, I mean of the filmmaking process. We come in at the end and give the awards to the best films. These guys are going from zero. Okay, so they curate, not from zero, they curate the films. They did it so prestigious with their integrity and very high standards that they've raised something like 35 lakhs in prize money, equivalent in euros. So this doesn't come overnight. We're struggling with, we're looking at, aajkal subscription kitna fees hai, so kitna ban jayega, and annually we are looking at, after all these years, we're really struggling because we want to keep costs low and affordable. So they've raised 35 lakhs. I'll just give you a quick rundown of what they're achieving. So it's a very tightly curated section of 10 feature films and 10 shorts. That's it. Like even the main Cannes Film Festival shows far more many films, and this tiny sidebar has only 10 features. And they've discovered, so it's only for first and second filmmakers, so they've had really people who are really famous now. So they discovered Wong Kar-wai, they discovered Alejandro González Iñárritu, they discovered Ken Loach and a whole host of others. So look where they are now, and they got their first breaks there when they were nobodies. The top feature gets 12 lakhs, the top short gets 3 lakhs. They've associated with something called the GAN Foundation, which gives 16 lakhs in money, not to the filmmaker, but to the distributor in France who will distribute the best feature and distribute the best short. I mean, they're really going all out, right? So it's not the filmmaker, but lots of award-winning films never get released, right? So they push their money and their effort and integrity and clout where it really makes a difference. The money goes to the distributor in France, okay? And last, they have one of the awards is with Canal Plus, which is this big French television channel, and their award money comes by way of buying the television rights to the best feature and the best short, which then show on television. So the filmmaker ends up getting money. What I'm trying to say is, eventually with all this, we want the filmmaker to make money, because it's only when they recover that they can make their next, and the cycle goes, right? Now a lot of people will say, oh, that's not my job, we are critics, or we can feel we are more academically inclined, we can decide that. But they just go all out where it really matters. And not that they make money, but they make sure the filmmaker gets money. And the last thing is, they distribute theatrically. So when you, on the website, when you want to enter your film for the Critics Week section, so it's written in the rules that if your film gets selected, you automatically give the Critics Week the rights to distribute your film. You're saying, boss, hum to idhar baithe, you are like distributing for free, or you're like neki or pooch kind of. So they actually release automatically, if your film is selected, they themselves take the responsibility for distributing theatrically in France, through the Cinémathèque Française, in Beirut in Lebanon, in Morelia in Mexico, in Santiago in Chile, and in Prague in the Czech Republic. And the last thing I've done recently, it's a new program where, wonderful idea, I mean, just how creative they are. For filmmaking, I told you they get 10 shorts. So now they have a new program called Next Step, which is a 1-week residency given to filmmakers who made short films and want to make their first feature film. They'll find the top screenwriters to mentor them, the top producers to come and guide them, distributors to help and explain, to help a short filmmaker make his first feature. I mean, this is the extent they go. So for me, they're really a great example of how long and how rewarding the journey can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meenakshi. And now we invite Dr. Madhu Ravangara, who is a national award-winning film critic and was a film teacher also in a university. And now we invite Dr. Madhu Ravangara.
Esteemed panelists, my dear friends. In fact, I think I should enter into the subject because so far we haven't touched our subject, film criticism in India and introspection. That is really the subject of today's seminar. Do we have a film criticism? Do we have a stream of film criticism in India? That's the main question before us. Now, when you think in terms of films, when you think in terms of short films, in terms of documentaries, yes, we have. But do we have a real film criticism in India? To me, I say in a negative aspect. Because we didn't start with the film criticism exactly. We had films, we were in a hibernation for a long time. Because after Raja Harichandra, we had so many films which gone after this Bhakti movement or other cult movement like that. So we didn't know what is exactly film is at that time. Even Hollywood films were not exactly coming to India at that time. It came later. So, what naturally happened was we had no model for film criticism. So we took mistook film review as film criticism. And that state of affairs is still continues. This is the grave problem in India. And now, as Mr. Ramachandran was telling, everybody is a film critic. How? Through social media and other means. Because when they write about a film, they assume that they are film critics. Film criticism is entirely different from film review. See, it is on a higher level. You start with maybe film review, then you go to film appreciation. And only after appreciation, you go to the level of film criticism. And no film criticism so far in our country. Of course, there are very few, I understand, but I want to categorize it in some other category. That is why. Because in the exact word film criticism, we are not showing allegiance to a particular term. Because we just make some writings. Okay, say most of them are reviews. You write about the story, you write about the background, you write about the actors and editors and the technicians and so on. It goes like that. We have a model for that. And that model is mainly based on the popular cinema. And it was not based on the pure cinema. Chidananda, I should remember the name of Chidananda Das Gupta, who was in a Calcutta Film Society along with the Satyajit Ray. They founded the Calcutta Film Society in Calcutta. You know it. So these people actually brought the cinema writing seriously in India because of the influence of Film Society movement. And then naturally, the Chandra came to India for shooting, Bengal for shooting. And then the new wave films came here, like the French New Wave, and before that Italian neorealism films came here. So likewise, slowly there was a movement of film writing also, and that sort of film writings came later. And you know what happened in later conditions after 80s or something? Again, we have gone back to the original mainstream cinema with all popular sort of things. Can you just suggest a film magazine which deals films very seriously? There were a few, but after a few months, it has got an untimely death. Even what happened to cinema in India, we got the NFDC publication. So the same thing happens every time. So we don't have a serious film criticism background. Of course, nowadays the universities are introducing film courses, of course. But as far as my experience is concerned, I was the head of the department of a film studies department of a university. Actually, the second one in India itself, in Kerala. You know what happened? The people who you get admission there after severe tests and interviews and all those things. And you know what happens? When people come here, they are more or less inclined to film making than film studies. The course is exactly called film studies, but they are not exactly interested in film studies. So the new youth, they are interested in making films than knowing about films. This is a serious issue now we are facing. Everybody coming for admission, this is a film studies course. There are 20 papers for it, and we gave the first year, for the first batch, the option that you should either produce a film or make a thesis. And to my surprise, we have noticed that out of 15 students, only one student attended thesis, and all others attended film, documentary film or short film. So this is the case, because the film studies course is meant for, not for film making. It is meant for either film teaching or for film writing. So this purpose is not served there. So this is what is happening nowadays. So I think we have faith in the new generation. The new generation has to come up to know about films. Everybody cannot be filmmakers. See, in this, of course, now that is what is happening here now. Everybody is making any person can make a film. That's the condition now. Of course, they can make a film, but there should be serious film writers. You should introduce the film. You should introduce what are the do's and don'ts in this particular film. How this film should be interpreted. How this is interpreted in terms of film theories. We have got a lot of theories. You have seen Bajeshri Potemkin, maybe most of you. And suppose you don't know about the montage theory. Can you follow Bajeshri Potemkin? So this is the problem. So each film you can fix it to or connect it to some theories. Of course, that will enhance the understanding of the film and also the understanding of the posterity. So better try to be good film viewers, try to appreciate films and then start film criticism, knowing you should know about all art forms if you want to be a good film critic. You do not know about you are not expected to know only about film. You are expected to know about literature. Somebody was telling about literary criticism. Of course, we have a lot to take from film literary criticism. But you should understand that film is entirely a different medium than literature. One is a verbal medium, whereas here is an audio-visual medium. The approach to medium is different. So the writing should also be different. So suppose you do not understand what is literature, what is literary medium, you cannot write about film. So you should know about the art forms, you should know about the folk arts and so many things. So a perfect man knowing all about arts should be able to do good film criticism. That is why we do not have good film criticism and people are just resorting to film reviews and they claim that they are film critics. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. I now invite Ms. Meena Karnik. She is a senior film critic and journalist and she served as a jury in many festivals. Ms. Meena.
Hello everybody. I'd like to, I somewhat agree with what Madhuji said just now, but I'd also like to, according to my experience, would like to have film criticism into two parts. I'd like to divide it into two parts. One is journalistic film criticism and the other is academic film criticism. As I was a journalist first and then became a film critic. So, not a film critic, as he said, I started with writing film reviews. Then, because I loved films, I started reading about it. I started reading about the films. I started reading about I started reading other reviews too. I'd like to say that I did read his articles when I was starting as a film journalist. I'll say I won't say I started as a film critic. I started as a film journalist. So you need to decide basically what sort of a film critic I am. Since I'm a journalist film critic, I'd want my writings to be read by more and more people. Why? Because I want the films that I see, the experience that I get from it, the whatever I feel like is good in a film or is bad in a film, I like to share it with people, the readers, that is, because that's the reason why I write. I did not go into films to study films and then become a critic. So there are two things, and of course we need both the kinds. Like you do need scholars who, as Madhuji said, should have 3 steps: one film review, then appreciation, and then become a critic. Appreciation, I agree with those 3 steps, but it's also about why you want to become a film critic. If you want to share your experiences, if the enrichment you get from film viewing, you want to share it. If I feel that, oh my God, the first thing when I watch a film, I want to tell everybody around me about it if I love it. So that's the reason why I started writing about films. Then again, it's up to you whether if you want to enrich yourself, not just with the films, but by reading about the films. So I think that is also very important. That's the difference between writing a review and then slowly becoming a film critic. So even a journalist film critic would need to naturally read and keep yourself updated about what's happening around the world, about the films that are happening, about the film criticism that's happening. And then somewhere along the line, you tend to talk about the film, not just about the film, but about the director, about the grammar of the film, about the other nuances that you see. And then maybe as an audience, when I was an audience, I did not notice it. So I needed somebody who's written about it, and then, oh yeah, I missed that. So should I go and watch the film again to find that nuance that I'd missed? So that is how you update yourself, you teach yourself. That is for everybody to do on their own, with the help of with the help of film criticism classes, film appreciation courses that are happening around us everywhere these days. somebody said about the social media too. There's been lots of writing on the social media, and not everybody who writes on films you can't claim that everything that's written on the social media is film criticism. It's like, wow, I'm giving 4 stars. He acted so well. The music is so good. It's most of the time, at least 90% of the time, it's trash. But should you welcome it? I think yes, you should, because that's the first step. It's a new social media too, like films. It's very new to us, and I think young people are expressing themselves. They might not have the tools to express, but then it's the duty of the other film critics to see to it that they turn into good film critics, not just keep on writing. Even if there are 100 people writing on it, even if 10 become good film critics, it would be a great achievement to the clan, I think. So you shouldn't just discard what's been written on social media. Yes, most of the times it's complete trash. I agree with that. But I do think that you should look you should look at it as a positive thing, that so many young people want to talk about films, that they're interested in films. They want to share their experiences about film. They may not have the expression perhaps, but their intention is right. And how to nurture that and how to make them into good, how to tell them, like, it's very difficult sometimes from somebody staying somewhere in whatever place, it's not important, but not everybody knows about the avenues that can get them to learn about film criticism. So if you come across a bad film review on a Facebook page, maybe you can just say, hey, you're interested in films, you can go and do this course, it will help you, or something like that. I don't know, it's just a thought that came into my mind right now. But that's how I think we should look into film criticism. Yes, the academic film criticism is important. That's where you get to learn the grammar of the film. That's where you get to learn the main nuances of the film. That's where you get to learn more about the directors, about their social, political, whatever backgrounds and everything, which also helps you talk about the film. Like if you write about a film, it helps to know the director, and that's where your study comes in. And you need to keep on doing that homework. You can't just say now that I'm a film critic, I've read so many books, I've seen so many films, and that's it, now I know everything about the films. And that's where I think I agree with Meenakshi that there should be something, refreshers course for the film critics too, and everybody should take it, because there are so many things happening right now all around the world. And with the social media and with the internet and with World Wide Web, we get to know so many things that we should also share with each other. So I think that's how I interpret film criticism with relation to me as a film critic. Thank you.
Thank you, Meena. Now we'll invite Mr. M.K. Raghavendra. He is a national award-winning film critic and also a well-known film scholar.
Thank you for having invited me, and thank you friends for being present here. Now, when I go along, one of the fundamental things which Indian film critics talk about is that their business is to promote good cinema. Do we know what good cinema is? I don't know what is good cinema. Okay? I only know a good film when I recognize it. I recognize a good film. I don't know what a good film, what a good cinema is. Okay? And it's also another issue here that we talk in terms of improving the quality of cinema. What exactly is that? Improving the quality of cinema. How does one improve the quality of cinema? My own sense is, okay, that before one knows what good cinema is, before one can promote good cinema, one should create a platform of mutual disagreements, mutual argument or whatever, and then create that platform where there is a certain exchange of debate between film critics, between people who can write, and this is a very important thing, people who can write. Okay, Madhu said that he is teaching film studies, and film studies he asked about 30 people or 40 people and only one person was prepared to write. What does that mean? It means people can't write today. Okay. The younger generation today comes comes out of a milieu in which people watch pictures. They can't use words. Now this is a big problem. Now that's why the thing of the the film critic is a dying profession, okay, largely because people don't read, they browse, they don't read. And because they don't read, they can't, they don't know, don't know how to savor words, okay. Now we are basically in this business of producing words. We are critics, we are producing literature. We are not promoting cinema, okay. When we promote literature, it's a very important thing that this thing of literature, I mean, we have to be seriously and we should attend to that. Now, when you look at this thing of why is it that in India you have this notion of good cinema and bad cinema? It is, I think, subconsciously, it is that we equate art cinema with good cinema, okay? And we equate commercial cinema with bad cinema. This commercial is a bad word. So what it means is that when you say art cinema is good cinema, actually art cinema and popular cinema and art cinema are not beasts of the same species, okay? Now when you look at art cinema could be DC, popular cinema could be AC. It's like this, okay? Popular cinema comes out of what we call the oral culture. Because you have people like Salman Khan comes out of the oral culture, out of your Puranas, out of your epics. Your art cinema comes out of the novel. It comes to the kind of acting which Amol Palekar does. Okay, it's very different from the kind of acting Salman Khan does. You cannot say that one is a better actor than the other actor. They're completely addressing different things. Their vocabulary is different, their range is different, all these things are different. So, what has happened in India is, by default, I get it from the sense, that finally, Chidanand Das Gupta and Satyajit Ray defined what good cinema was. Neither of them understood popular cinema. They had complete contempt for popular cinema in India, but the fact is that popular cinema has a huge audience. It is a huge audience, and anything with such a large public, with such a large audience, cannot be dismissed. Okay? Why is it? It is our duty as a film critic to understand why is it that people respond to popular cinema, why they respond to Salman Khan. Though personally I don't like Salman Khan, I don't like this one, I don't like that one, I don't like Hrithik Roshan, I don't like many of these people. But the point is when people appreciate them, we have to find reasons. It's our business to find out why are they being appreciated. Obviously they're tapping on something that these people have, right? The audience requires. So what happened in Hollywood is, you'll be surprised, the greatest amount of literature, the largest amount of literature ever written in the world has been written on Hollywood. And you look at the kind of libraries that Hollywood, film libraries, you'll find they've written on the musical, you'll find on the noir film, on the western. You have articles, books on the openings in noir films. Now the question is, and has any kind of literature like this ever been written about Indian popular cinema? No. Why? And when they do write on Indian popular cinema, what do? Freudianism. Tell us that Avara is Oedipus complex, okay? And to tell us this is the kind of stuff you get from film academics in India. What use is this to be told that Avara is Oedipus complex? It's no use at all, right? Avara, the father is a judge. The father is a judge. Why make him a judge if it's Oedipus complex? What has judge got to do with Oedipus complex? Nothing, right? So the point is, it's necessary to theorize. It's necessary to theorize on Indian cinema, construct theory, construct thing on Indian cinema. There has been very little theory on Indian cinema, on popular cinema. Art cinema is easy, right? Look, if you ask me, it's much easier to write about Pachair Panchali than to write about Amar Akbar Antony. It's a far easier job, because there is already a framework of reason, there's already a framework of film aesthetics, there's already a film. All you have to do is look at Bicycle Thief, look at how they've been written about and replicate it here. You can't do that with Amar Akbar Antony. Amar Akbar Antony is an unknown species of animals, okay? To be able to describe it in rational terms, which is not to say it's a bad film, right? It's a completely different thing. The very fact that it works in some particular way makes it deserve attention, okay? Now, it is important for us to recognize as film critics that we are basically producing literature, and we mustn't think that because you're producing, otherwise we are not publicists. We are not publicists, you're producing literature, and it doesn't mean when you're producing literature that you are not necessarily subservient to the object you're writing about. For example, James Hadley Chase is not a great writer. George Orwell is a great writer. George Orwell wrote an essay on James Hadley Chase. Now, why did he write it? Obviously, see, the question is, anything in the world which is popular, which is being consumed, is worthy of attention, and the critical essay is easily worthy of, shall we say, at least as much attention as the object it's writing about. So finally, we should, as film critics, take independent positions. I'm only talking about this thing of evaluative criticism. I won't go into interpretive criticism. That's a different issue altogether. Whether a film is good or not, the entire thing has to be created over a period of times in a platform where critics interact with each other. It's not really happening nowadays. Critics are independent. They work on their own agendas. So it's not really happening nowadays. But I think that if this kind of thing, there's a certain kind of intelligence is applied and writing is produced on cinema, debating this issue and that issue. Of course, there are no final answers. There's no final answers. But the very debate on platforms, recognized platforms, would be able to raise the level of not of cinema but of film criticism. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raghavendra. Now the last speaker is Mr. Ashok Rane. He's a very well-known film critic and he is a director of the Aurangabad Film Festival. Now I invite Mr. Ashok Rane.
Hello. Hello everybody. What my friend Vidya Shankar said in the beginning about Andre Baza, so I will begin with that. There are some people in Western country and who wrote what we call film criticism in the right manner. So Andre Baza was one of them, and all his 5 disciples, Francois Truffaut and 4 others. I learned great deal from all 6 of them, from Cahiers du Cinema, their magazine, and then Andre Baza's book called What is Cinema. I learned great deal from them, what we call film criticism, film reviewing, film appreciation, everything, and film academics in a larger context. And then I found the same kind of gurus, I will call them my gurus, they're my gurus. One is Khwaja Ahmad Abbas from India. He was a primitive critic of Indian cinema. And then we have Chadanan Das Gupta. Third one is Vikram Singh. And fourth one is Iqbal Masood. And I don't like to use word lucky, but I was lucky to be closely associated with Vikram Singh, Chitruda quite some time, and more than that, Iqbal Masood. So these people, for me, they are the great critic. They're the real critic of cinema. What we know, what we expect as writing from critics, I found what they wrote in their this thing. So now I'll come to what Raghavendra said something about this popular cinema. It's very close to my heart, this subject. Because we critics are always like, they are great intellectuals, they know more than the filmmakers. Now, how to judge the work of cinematographer? Because this is what these people do. Now, then I went to Mumbai and then I met Govind Nilani. And I just asked Govind ji कि अभी आजकल ये ऐसा हो रहा है, we are having this problem in giving award to cinematographer कि original क्या है and what came through or added to VFX and DI. So how to judge the film? So he said, but Ashok, the shot is taken by the cinematographer. I said, Govind ji, yes, shot is taken. But then it is improvised through these two new technology. So how to judge the work of cinematography? So this is the problem for juries also. So this is one aspect that I always feel that critic should know little bit of film making process. When I'm also in teaching, so I tell my students when the film critic student, I am not here to teach you how to make a film, but I am going to have some lectures and some of my colleagues are going to speak on that aspect, the lecture subject, that is how to make a process of filmmaking. Because you should know how the certain effects is achieved in the film. It's not just acting, it's not just scripting. It's through some technical things also that you should know. So you will not give credit to those people, the real guy. So this is one thing we should take care. Now, one more last this thing I have to share with you. Once there was a festival in Mumbai, and we came out with me. There was Ashutosh Gowarikar, and we were just coming out, and suddenly he saw our friend, film critic friend, and she was just passing through. So he called her. She came, and he said, "Hey, what you wrote about my film Swades? You say my film is slow pace?" So she said, "Yes, it is the slow pace film." So then I immediately, because I also read that almost reviews in Marathi, English and Hindi and all that. Almost all critics said the Swades is a slow pace film. So she was saying same thing. So he was so furious. How you can say my film is slow pace? How you can discard my film saying slow pace and all that? He was so furious. She was saying something. I was just quietly listening, and after a while she said, "Okay, goodbye. I'm going." And she went. And then I told Ashutosh, Ashutosh, even I feel your film is slow pace. So he said, "Ashokji, I have a tremendous respect for you. How you can say it's a slow pace film?" So I said, "Listen to me. I have some reason for that. I don't know why she has not given the reason why this film, but I have a reason for that. What is your film? What is Swades is about? Swades is about change. And हमारे देश में revolution होता नहीं. Change never happens overnight. You try to remember the story of Swades. There is one small scene where the old guy says, the गाँव वाला old आदमी says to this guy, Mohan Bhargav, अरे मोहन बेटा, अरे भैया अमेरिका से आए हो, रहो, खाओ पियो, मजे ले लो, चले जाओ. हम तो सदियों से अंधेरे में बैठे, आपको तकलीफ क्या है बेटा? अभी जिसको हम मराठी में स्थितिशील बोलते हैं, the people who want to be in same situation for centuries together to bring change in their life, 3 hours is not enough. And that story, the way it is told, it is inherent. So space has to be slow. But critics, they don't give the reason. They just put remark, good, bad, and they don't know other word than the third word than good and bad. Only good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Nothing else. I have so many things to share with you, but now time is very less. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashok. Now we have 5 to 10 minutes for any questions.
Hello. Yeah. So my major question is addressed towards Ms. Meenakshi. Ma'am, what I want to know is, I'm curious, when it comes to film criticism, what are your thoughts on moral responsibility? If there is a filmmaker who has been associated with, say, the Me Too movement, or has represented gender in a very problematic manner in the films, or there are some certain socio-political there's a certain socio-political butterfly effect of a film that's being released and that's affecting the attitude of people that are watching the film. What do you feel? When do you distance yourself and realize that you should be criticizing a film or curating a film for a film festival based on art for art's sake, or you should look at it in the terms of intersectionality, as in how it's affecting the society? And what do you feel about films that are problematic, so to speak, in your own way? Obviously, problematic is different for everybody. So in your own way, if you don't like something about what a film is saying, a statement that the film is making, maybe on gender, or maybe on mental disability, or whatever, how do you feel that you should be writing or talking about that film, keeping in mind that maybe that film is really well made, technically speaking, right? So that is what I want to know. That's my question.
Murky question, and my answer can also only be murky. I don't think there's for me at least, a clear-cut blanket answer for that. I think it would depend on the circumstance of an individual film. I don't think, like, if somebody's, I don't know, it's very hard. It's very hard to have a clear, like a decision, I would say, for all filmmakers. Also, the thing to realize is that I think the most painful part is, I mean, for me personally, it's very important what the human being is. Somebody can be the greatest master on earth. If he's an asshole, I'm sorry, he will never have my respect. I will acknowledge that his film is great, but he will never have my respect. Yeah, which is distinct from whatever review I write. I will have that distance, but I will say X, Y, which I've done in my reviews. So I think reviews are inherently subjective. I think the notion of objectivity is, it exists, but I don't think it exists in purity. So objectivity for me in a review would be, okay, if I don't like Kareena or Salman Khan, I don't trash them because I don't like them. I mean objectivity in that you assess it for what it's worth. You keep your personal feelings out on that aspect. But for me, it's very hard. So when I can't remember which review I did some months ago. When I reviewed the film, per se, but I did make a remark about this film. But I think the reason for me, it's very difficult for me, and maybe other people as well, is because the film is never made by one person. And that actually happened in the Mumbai Film Festival, where a whole lot of very, very, very daring, because that is one of the few festivals in India which is so embedded in Bollywood. So for them in particular, for anyone, it's daring, and it's an important step that needs to be taken to ask for accountability, right? So they had dropped very daringly a bunch of films, which I'm sure that's where your question, one of the places your question is coming from. But producer X, who was producer of a film that was dropped, was also producer for another short, which is a very, very modern film, a short film by a woman director, very modern, a fantastic film, which also got dropped as what they call collateral. I hate that word. But you see, it's damaging. The trail is so long, it never stops at one thing. There is usually in something as evil as that, it's usually a system that makes it possible, right? If somebody's beating up somebody, you never see somebody usually thrashing a woman in public or raping her kulayam. It's done in secret spaces, in rooms, or an office, or let's talk in my house, that kind of secret. So it's very hard also to get evidence, etc., etc. But as even someone like Harvey Weinstein, who it's such an endless trail with that kind of they have a legal system in place, which we don't have that level of accountability, and still he's not in jail right now, right? So there's a whole ecosystem that makes this possible. All his secretaries over the years, his lawyers, who allowed this to happen over 20, 30 years, and now it's, so I think it's hard to isolate one incident and say, what would I do? Because it's a whole system that's murky, right? So that makes it a bit tough.
You want to speak?
I'm Anil Goyal, theatre critic from Delhi, and I'm very happy to see, I would compare Mr. Madhu and Ms. Meena. The same old thing that we discuss every day in Delhi, the academic side and the performance side of it. Like in this Andhayu, for example, one is the academics that professors teach in the class, and one is a person who is putting it on the stage. in films we can compare with Devdas. Devdas is a book, and it was done by like I'm talking of heroes, Sehgal and Dilip and this person Shah Rukh Khan, and then we had Dev D and all that. So my question, a very straight question to the organizers of this FIPRESCI. Will there be, do you perceive a conflict, intellectual conflict between Madhu and Meena? I am categorizing them, not individuals. I am foreseeing that, and I am happy that this discussion will be taking place in future. Scholaristic and
versus journalists.
yes, exactly. The practitioner of journalism and the practitioner of academics.
I think both can cohabit together.
Yeah.
We don't have any conflicts as such.
We do have every day in
No,
Delhi.
in FIPRESCI we don't have any conflicts like that. And also one more thing I would like to say. You know, I have a book, Indian Cinema, 100 Years, 100 Cinema. And for the information of Mr. Raghavendra, one of the film is Amar Akbar Antony. You know, likewise, so there is no conflict of interest. So we accept all.
No, I am talking of the conflict of ideas and intellectual conflict, not of interests, of course.
No, I think both are needed because you need to have, see, for people like me who write in magazines, who write journalistic writing, need to have writings like Madhuji, what Madhuji was saying, so that I can update myself and I can learn.
Intellectual support from him.
Definitely, even if I don't write about intellectual stuff, maybe, but I need to know about it. I can't just say I don't write it. I don't need to know about it. It's not possible. So to have my what do you say? In fact, so that I feel confident enough when I write about something. It's because of something that I've read and I know, and then it's because of what maybe the scholars have done for us, for those who who are journalists. So we coexist.
Yeah, that's what we do in Delhi. I am a journalist, so we learn from the academicians. Thank you.
Can I add something to this? I want to add something to this.
Please.
See, there are actually three strands in film criticism, right? One is journalism, right? Journalism is simply evaluation. Is the film good or bad? Should we see it? Should we not see it? And it's always for contemporary cinema. You will not review Battleship Potemkin, right? Number one, right? You don't review it.
No.
You don't review it, okay? The second thing is intellectual criticism. Okay, I don't know if you're familiar. Intellectual criticism is of a different sort. Iqbal Masud was an intellectual critic in the later stage, which means he will look at the socio-economic, the angle and all that. He will analyze it in some way. He could probably look at Devdas, various versions of Devdas, see how they differ, what does it mean, okay, analysis of some sort. It's still invested in the cinema. The third is academic criticism, which is a completely different thing. Usually it is theory down, right? Which is you will apply cultural studies, you will apply this psychoanalysis, you will do that. That is actually has nothing to do with film appreciation. Okay? You cannot, for example, if you look at Hitchcock and you say Hitchcock is looking at guilt and redemption in the Christian sense, it will come under intellectual criticism, it can be appreciation. But if you say Hitchcock had a castration complex, it's no credit to Hitchcock. Okay? That would be academic criticism. So the question is now this intellectual critic is more or less extinct, it doesn't exist. It's Susan Sontag used to be a very big intellectual critic. The top reviewers used to be Pauline Kael, John Simon, these guys. Derek Malcolm would be reviewers, right? And then you would have academic critics who would be the guys writing on Hollywood, or they're usually people who are working in universities. They write for university journals. So there is these. In fact, I think one of the things is we are not really keyed into academic criticism here among the FIPRESCI. We are basically in the first two types, right? So that is the thing. So there are three different things. I think between intellectual and reviewing, there are similarities and something can go. But academic criticism is different. It's meant for study. It's meant for pedagogy, right?
Thank you for
Most of them, they were reviewers. These reviewers, they enjoy making fun of movies. When they write, they enjoy themselves making fun of movies. I will not quote the name here. One of my friends from Mumbai, is a very famous critic of India. And once he used to do all this kind of thing, you know. So once in the review, he wrote at the end of the bottom of the review, he says, okay, now whatever I wanted to say about this movie, this is a trash movie. I wrote everything about that. And despite that, you want to go and watch this movie, go ahead and watch it. But don't forget to take pack of Saridon with you. So when I met him, I said, my dear friend, give them choice. Let them take poison, yeah.
We have five minutes remaining only.
Namaskaram to all. My small question is criticism depends upon aesthetics or craft?
Take the second question, then I'll try. You have a question.
This is the last question.
Okay, I'll answer. See,
No, you ask the question, both will be answered.
Okay, okay. I am really fortunate to be in your august company. My name is Chidaksha Chand. I'm an actor and host. I'm covering here. So my question is to, Meenakshi ma'am. I just want to ask, why aren't there more female reviewers in India? I mean, women just bring forth a different perspective as in any other field. So not that you're discounting what these stalwarts have done and continue to do. I appreciate the kind of mind they have, our male critics. But why is it that, this dearth of female reviewers in India? So thank you so much.
I'll just answer the first. Craft, filmmaking craft. Okay, that's the question. Okay, filmmaking craft, what does that mean? If you're talking in terms of how is a story told, whether it's taught, whether it's, that side of the sort of thing critics can deal with. They can't deal with cinematography. You can't say good cinematography, bad cinema. Who knows, right? And there's no way. In fact, I would suggest that all critics abandon these judgmental terms like good and bad altogether. It's not necessary. You bring it out in the course. The question is this kind of cinematography valid in this kind of movie? For example, I saw one film here. I don't know that thing about climate change, right? Interdependence, climate change. There's the first thing there where it's about some pollution, but the question is you shoot with a drone, right? You shoot with a drone and this all polluted water looks beautiful. Look, it looks beautiful red, right? It's obviously wrong, but it looks beautiful. So you tell me the cinematography was good? Yes, its cinematography was good, but is it appropriate? It's not appropriate. Okay? And the same thing with that seagull thing. The question is, how is it done? Whether it's appropriate? Is it okay for this sort of thing? Is this music okay for this sort of thing? Is this man the right cast? Can you cast Irfan Khan as an innocent person? You can't. So these are errors of casting, right? The same thing. There are certain things. There are certain things. Can you make Amol Palekar show passion? No. Okay. These are things. Okay. These are things that critics can take care of. But it comes under technique. It comes under craft. It does not come under technology. Okay.
Sir, my question to you is, could critics become good film makers?
Hardly ever.
1 second. Can I just answer a previous question? Okay. Your question was about women critics, right? So personally, I think generally maybe worldwide, women are in a minority in many professions right across the economy. And the Western countries have maybe a few percentage more, but it's not like they're all in position of power. And somebody was telling me last week, I don't know if he had figures to back this, but he was a management person who was reading surveys of the top women CEOs in many countries, and that survey said there were more women CEOs in India than in the US. I don't know if that's true. And sometimes these things are a function of demographics, like, it's like this is one of the very few countries in the world where newspaper publications and editions are actually expanding, whereas in the West they're all shutting down. It's a question of just sheer population and increasing literacy, for example. Just 2% will make some millions, something like that. So I don't think it's vastly different in the West or so. But really I have to say, when I go to regular press reviews every week, there's a massive number, sometimes maybe more women than men. That's absolutely an irrelevant, meaning right now if you go to press reviews or people, it's definitely equal number, maybe quite often even more women. And I think since you've asked the question, I'll just add a tiny little coda. just to point out, because it's something we're not aware of. It's partly takes off from what Raghavendra talked about, the importance or not that we give mainstream cinema, we look down on it. And I'd just like to point out that a very mainstream filmmaker, like talking of women filmmakers, like Farah Khan, I really don't think she's got the recognition she deserves, because I'm not like a world expert, but I've really sincerely asked, in a lot of the film industries in the West, Hollywood, France, China, Japan, they do not have a successful mainstream director like her, who makes so much money at the box office with most of her films. Of course, anyone's films, make money or some tank, but where the stars are waiting to sign her next film, producers are waiting to sign her next film, there is no woman director like that in Hollywood, or France, or Germany, or wherever. It is exceptional that film after film she's able to make money. So for example, you have some Oscar-winning director like Catherine Bigelow, who made Zero Dark Thirty. That's an Oscar award, which is very different from making money for your producer. So the flip side on the other side of the film industry is also that as well. But film critics, there's just a whole lot.
Okay. That's encouraging to know. Thank you so much.
Answering the other man's question, actually what I think is the word film criticism is now becoming obsolete. Now it has been replaced by film studies, or the writings on cinema. That is most journalists and other people do nowadays. Writing on cinema or film studies. So the exact meaning of the word film criticism is lost. So we are, as I was telling earlier, we are resorting to film reviews, okay, and then we are going to film studies. So film studies have got so many areas to operate. See, as somebody was telling, you can associate it with the cultural studies, then political studies, social studies, and say psychological studies, and all these things can get together. And you can have separate topics for each one of these. So we can have a wide horizon where you can study cinema in particular to particular aspects. So as a whole, the film criticism, I think, it is dying. The word as well as the process is dying. That's what I feel.
So the name of the critics will also change then?
Yeah, because it started so early, sir.
Yeah, we are going to conclude it. So we are going to conclude the session. I invite Ramendra to conclude.
Hello.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, the panel of speakers, everybody, and particularly you all for staying, tolerating us for a long time and the beautiful exchange. And thanks to the Director of Film Festivals for collaborating with us for this beautiful seminar, and we are sure that next year we can make it much more bigger, much more attractive, if it is attractive at all. So, and the Cine India, if anybody is interested, please contact Mr. G.P. Ramchandran to get your copy. It is you will get it with a 50% discount, so very cheap right now. And you can contribute in that also. You can send your articles, and we are also available online, eCine India. And Filmpresky is also available, filmpresky.online. All the time you can watch our activities there. And thank you. We are ending here. Thanks a lot.